Mics are hot.
All right, guys, we're going to rock and roll on the show here. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. Judah, you confirm LinkedIn and YouTube for me. Live on my Facebook, J-Dubs.
All right.
A lot we're going to cover on the show. Tag a friend. We got some big-time news on the program today. Print, radio, and television that's watching this program. Get your notepads out. Print, radio, and television that's watching the program. The news that we're going to talk about today should dictate your legacy media cycles for the next week. Newspaper, television, and radio that's watching the program. What we talk about today on the I Love CVille show should dictate what you cover over the next week in your old media and legacy media news cycles. We are live on LinkedIn. Viewers and listeners, like and share the program, like and share the show. It is the Friday edition, to the Thursday edition, I should say, of the I Love CVille show, Thursday edition. And boy, oh boy, do we have a doozy. LinkedIn is live, J-Dubs. You confirming YouTube?
Yep.
YouTube's rocking and rolling?
And yeah, that's good.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Judah. Live on I Love CVille Facebook. City Hall making moves here. City Hall making moves. Local community leader and stakeholder Hunter Craig making moves here. Good guy, good man. A lot we're going to cover on the program. Look at the screen for today's headlines. Look at the screen for today's headlines. Judah, we got some good ones.
No doubt. I think it's great that they've finally got a spot where they sure they can build something for, as you're calling it, a homeless shelter / campus.
This is breaking news that we broke yesterday, and we can offer more color and details on the deal flow. A lot we're going to cover on the broadcast. Like and share the program. Like and share the show. This is the Thursday edition of the I Love CVille show. I'm feeling pretty good. Are you feeling good?
Yep.
Okay. Which headline most intrigues you and why?
I think this is great news for the homeless population. I think this could be something that they really need, not just a shelter, but a place to hopefully turn things around.
Yeah, a lot we're going to cover on the show. I'm excited. All right, we can rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Quiet on the set. Quiet on the set. Welcome to the I Love CVille show, guys. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on a Thursday afternoon in downtown Charlottesville. A lot we're going to cover on the program. News. We touched on this briefly yesterday in the interview with Conan Owen of Sir Speedy of Central Virginia. Conan Owen, Sir Speedy of Central Virginia, is who we use for signage and graphics. In fact, they just updated the vinyl lettering on our studio storefront today. We'll give him a plug. 3 years he's owned the business, Sir Speedy of Central Virginia. It's been around for 35 years, proudly serving the community. You have a logo, you need an application for it, he's got you covered. Sir Speedy of Central Virginia. Today's show is going to be one that drives the legacy media cycle. If you watch the program routinely, you know the content that we cover on this program, the I Love CVille show, turns up in old media, print, radio, and television either later that day, the next day, or a few days after. I literally see the print, television, and radio outlets watching the program now. I can see it on our heat map. So I encourage those reporters from print, radio, and television to get your notebooks out, please, and get ready to fill your news cycles for the next week with coverage content. We are going to talk on today's program about the future of a grocery store in Fifeville and whether or not that future is now one that has been completely bleak, completely diminished, now an afterthought. This came up in the interview with Conan Owen yesterday. Woodard and Anthony Woodard, now calling the shots over there, friend of the program. Enjoy seeing Anthony Woodard a few days a week. His Cherry Avenue grocery store, the old Kim's Market, the old IGA, now for lease. Actively marketed for lease on the internet right now. Does that mean that this community grocery store is now a thing of the past and is a heavy lift that could never be materialized? We'll talk about that on today's show. I think the lead of the program is kind of what I've been touching on over the last week to 2 weeks, and I think this is why you watch the program, is for information that is important and tied to this community. There's a deal that I've been told is a done deal, for the city of Charlottesville, purchasing a very well-positioned, a very strategic building right off the bypass, right next to Whole Foods, right next to the Rivanna Trail, in the heart of the city, but not on the downtown mall. A building that is going to be the future campus shelter epicenter for the homeless in Charlottesville, Virginia. This is a deal that's been on the negotiation table for a little more than a week now. Community stakeholder, community leader, man of influence and one of the deepest networks I have seen, Hunter Craig, friend of the program, helped broker this deal, helped connect both the city and the seller. The seller is an established individual. I'll let the city and this established individual, relay to the community who the man selling the property is. But I feel comfortable getting this news out in more finite detail. Charlottesville, Virginia, ladies and gentlemen, with taxpayer dollars, is spending millions of dollars, more than you can count on one hand, but a purchase price that is less than the fingers on two hands. So more than one hand, less than two hands, and is going to make an aggressive, strategic, empathetic, patient, kind play to build a shelter and campus for our houseless population, which is roughly somewhere between 200 and 250 people in our community. And this is something we need to champion and celebrate. This is the hand up, not the hand out. I don't believe in handouts. I believe in hand ups. This is the hand up from the city. This is a move from Sam Sanders and his staff that shows some vision. Now, City Council is going to have to greenlight this, and I think they will. Goodness gracious, if they don't, Council should be, run out of town on a rail, and I mean that. Juan Wade, Pinkston, Snook, Olsher, and Payne. But a campus and a purchase of a building off the bypass near Whole Foods, right next to the Rivanna Trail, this is win, 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 win for everyone involved. The seller gets his number. The city spends some taxpayer dollars, and the upside and the return on a purchase that's somewhere between a $5 5 and 10 million. I'll let that official number. We know the official number. We'll let the official number get out there on the agenda. And when Sam Sanders and City Council talk about this, as early as potentially Monday is what we're hearing, that this is something that could be discussed Monday. Monday, Tuesday. Ladies and gentlemen, if you spend somewhere between $5 and $10 million to acquire a building and then spend a handful of million more to outfit and upfit the building, and you turn it into a shelter and a campus for 200 to 240, 200 to 250 people that are in the houseless community locally, and you make the business district, the downtown mall, vibrant, full of economic vitality again, the return on investment is many more than the 6 to 10 million acquisition and upfit costs that you pay today and over the next 6 to 12 months as you're remodeling the building. You're talking incremental tax dollars. You're talking more foot traffic from tourists. You're talking more lodging tax. You're talking more meals tax, more sales tax. And most importantly, you're reclaiming the heartbeat of our community. This Central Virginia region, ladies and gentlemen, if you live in Albemarle County, if you live in Fluvanna County, you live in Louisa County, you live in Orange County, you live in Greene County, you live off Old Garth Road, you live in Hogwaller, you live in Belmont, you live in Gordonsville, you live in Avon Extended, 5th Street Extended. I don't care where you live. I don't care where you live. Your home values are tied to the 8 blocks in the downtown mall. I don't care where you live. A vibrant downtown Charlottesville will drive value for everyone in this region that's 300,000 person strong that we call Central Virginia. And reclaiming the mall, planting the flag in the center of the mall and having a flag that waves welcome, a flag that waves approachability, a flag that waves clean, a flag that's planted at the downtown mall that waves economic vitality and vibrancy, a flag that drives a community to the heartbeat, the epicenter of a region, is one that will yield return on investment in perpetuity. So when the haters come out, when this is on the agenda, when the legacy media that's watching this program starts covering what we're talking about now, you push back on what the haters say. Oh, goodness gracious. 6 million acquisition, couple of $1 million in upfit and outfit. Goodness gracious. All this so they can pocket the houseless off the downtown mall? You push back on that because that is an unreasonable, unrealistic, and unfair narrative. The right narrative and how this is undoubtedly playing out is you have a city manager, you have a city hall that realize that they have a problem. Did it take them too long to realize they had a problem? Absolutely. And that falls on council. It falls on the mayor. It falls on council. But they've figured it out. They've heard from stakeholders and community leaders, and now a deal is brokered to build a shelter and campus out of the business district. Hunter Craig should be commended and accoladed and championed. There's many examples locally where he's done extremely well for this community that he calls home. You should give Sam Sanders some props. You give City Hall some props. And as we head into the 50-year anniversary of the downtown mall, and the 50-year anniversary of the downtown mall, ladies and gentlemen, is next year. As we head into the 50-year anniversary of the downtown mall, we have a runway between now and then to really make this a showcase of one of the best pedestrian malls, not just in the Commonwealth, but in the country, and that's fact. We have an opportunity between now and the 50-year anniversary next year to really stamp the city on a map nationally through media attention, media coverage. 50-year anniversary of a pedestrian mall. That story sells itself. Washington Post, Richmond Times-Dispatch, Roanoke Times, Charlotte Observer, Tennessee newspapers, Mid-Atlantic newspapers, TV and radio, they'll cover it. We have an opportunity to return the mall to its brand identity that was very prominent prior to COVID. We all saw what happened with the pandemic. Pandemic, federal government, overreach, kept us in our houses, kept people from going to work, running their lives in normalcy. When we stayed 12, 18 months, I didn't change my life a damn bit. We came into work every day, but everybody else for the large part did. And that left a lot of people not in these buildings and these shops and these restaurants and these organizations and outfits in downtown. And at that point, we saw a change. And it's never changed back. This move will. This move will make that change back. I am excited. I'm bullish. I see upside. You listen to the show, you know I've had this platform and have maintained these talking points for some time. I'm bullish on the city. I'm bullish because council considered this shelter ordinance that Chief Koch has presented on behalf of council. Was it shot down? Yes. Was it the wrong decision by council? Yes. But I realized when it was shot down 5-0 that the tide was turning. Then I saw the mayor go before a Q&A session at Violent Crown Theater a couple of weeks ago, a Q&A sponsored by Friends of CVille, the lobbying group. And I watched the mayor literally, hat in hand, realizing that he had made tremendous mistakes as the leader of this community. And I started seeing this movement and this momentum turn. I saw $1.2 million allocated of taxpayer dollars for a 2-year contract for a cleanup and ambassador crew out of Louisville, Kentucky. I saw the Salvation Army actively trying to get in the mix to figure out this solution. I saw the business community realizing that it was up to them to solve this. I saw these trade winds start coming from these different directions, and as these winds come from very different directions and get uniformed in one direction, you have momentum and movement. And that momentum and movement that we have now is one of positivity. And don't let any narrative, don't let any activists in this community, don't let Livable CVille, the Gillikin Gang, any activists in this community, don't let the Blue Ridge Area Coalition of the Homeless try to position this in any other way except for a hand up for our houseless population. A hand up that's shelter, that's showers, that's laundry, that's counseling, addiction recovery, resume building. A hand up that is support, a hand up that is kindness, that is empathetic, a hand up that is center of the city, public transportation, a hand up that's near the Rivanna Trail, that is a popular route for the houseless population. A hand up that is still near the downtown mall, but not on the downtown mall. This is win for the city. This is win for the houseless population. This is win for the business community. This is win for the nonprofits to support the houseless. This checks all the boxes. Ladies and gentlemen, it checks all the boxes. And now you hope council and these 5 folks don't get in any way in any of the way of progress. I'm talking Wade, and I'm talking you Pinkston, and I'm talking you Oshrin, and I'm talking you Snook, and I'm talking you Payne. Long time coming. 2-shot. First the studio camera, then the 2-shot. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, on many days like this, stories like Peter Chang and his restaurant closing in Charlottesville would be atop the leaderboard.
Wow.
Peter Chang's China Grill, ladies and gentlemen, closing its doors. October 31, if not sooner.
Wow.
And North Barracks. That's often the lead of a show like this. Often the lead of a show like this is the grocery store on Cherry Avenue, now heavily marketed for lease by Woodard Properties. industrial storage space located at 501 Cherry Avenue, the old IGA store. The layout allows for 1,000 to 5,000 square feet. Monthly rent for as low as $5 per square foot. CAM fee of $1 per square foot. Parking available for construction companies on a monthly basis. Call for more information. Woodard Properties actively marketing the IGA, Kim's Market Building. That is one of the most important pieces of real estate and one of the most underachieving corridors in the entire city. If you're talking underachieving corridors in this city, we've highlighted Cherry Avenue, we've highlighted High Street. This is one of the most critical gateway pieces of real estate to one of the most underachieving corridors in a 10.2 square mile city with the artery for a neighborhood that is historically marginalized and forgotten. That tells you, if you read between the lines, that the community grocery store is a thing of the past. That's normally the lead of this show every time. But the slam dunk lead of this, Judah Wickower, is a multi-million-dollar acquisition of a piece of dirt and a piece of real estate, a building and some land for a homeless campus and shelter, a move that the city has needed to do for some time. And yes, there's going to be more money spent on upfit and outfit to turn this into what could be a world-class campus and shelter for about 200 to 250 people that need empathy, grace, patience, kindness, and a hand up.
Yeah, I think you made a good point about the fact that despite what we spend on this, it's an investment, because if the result is a cleaned up downtown mall, that could potentially bring more people into Charlottesville. More people spending money on the downtown mall is more tax money in the coffers, and eventually it pays for itself.
Big time move.
No doubt.
This is one of those moves where the community is going to look back on in the historical record of Charlottesville and point to it as a turning point move. Mm-hmm. This is one of the moves. I've been in this community for 25 years, ladies and gentlemen. Proud to call Charlottesville my home for 25 years. Came here as a first year at the University of Virginia. A first year, Dabney, old dorms, room 101. Didn't know much of anything. UVA to working in print, radio, and television. Started working for Jerry Ratcliffe before my third year at the University of Virginia, while I was the rush chair at Phi Kappa Psi. Working for $30 a story, covering high school volleyball and field hockey and soccer and some Friday night football. Start working in radio on a Saturday morning talk show and then television. When it was all said and done, our byline in the newspaper 7 days a week, our voice on talk radio 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, syndicated in 3 states, hundreds of markets. In our face and our voice on television with NBC 29, with an 11:30 a.m. Sunday morning show every week and a Saturday morning 11 a.m. show every week. Tossed that all away almost 18 years ago to launch the Miller Organization, a firm that's evolved into venture and real estate, brokerage and acquisition, branding and advertising, and deal making. Put people together, figure out problems, solving solutions. In those 25 years in this community, I go from single bachelor who all he cared about was girls and closing bars down, to meeting my wife more than a decade ago, straightened me up, met her on an airplane. She quit Blackstone, the hedge fund, came down here, gave me a shot more than 10 years ago. Now 2 boys, 7-year-old in 2nd grade, a soon-to-be 3-year-old. His birthday on Thanksgiving this year. Can't wait to celebrate that little guy. And like me, like you, Judah, in the time we've been in this community, the evolve of our person, our maturation, we're seeing the same with the city. And unfortunately, thanks to some negligent leadership, and I think it started, just before the Nakia Walker era, some negligent leadership, the city's faced a lot of hardship.
No doubt.
And I've highlighted those hardships of late. Sales tax collection through the first 2 quarters of this year versus the first 2 quarters of last year is down considerably in the city. All while neighboring jurisdiction, Albemarle County, is up. And you know what's terrifying about sales tax collection through the first 2 quarters of this year being down versus the first 2 quarters of last year? Is 2024 was down versus 2023. That's a trend.
Yeah.
Meals tax down. Lodging tax down. Foot traffic on the downtown mall down 1 million people. Tourism dollars down 1%. That's a boatload of money, 1%, when you're talking $400 million. Home values down in the city.
Yeah.
It took key performance indicators of potentially damning levels where 30-something city councilors named Natalie Oshrin, who are more concerned about road diets, narrowing roads, and bicycle lanes, and less concerned about the vitality of the the business district. It took these sagging and dragging KPIs for someone even like Natalie Oshrin to say, goodness gracious, I think we have a revenue problem. Well, of course you do, Councilor Oshrin, and of course you do, Councilor Payne. And that's part of leadership legacy. But what's also part of leadership legacy is a voting base that can be forgiving. And the voting base that can be forgiving, those internet pages that forever immortalize your brand, your legacy on the internet, Wikipedia. What's also forgiving is when you make impactful change during your term, and impactful change is approving a purchase and an acquisition of a shelter that's not on the mall, that's near the Rivanna Trail, that's on the bypass, that's on public transportation, for a future, to secure a future that's bright for the community. Brighter for the community, a future that is nostalgic and reminiscent of the past that we had in 2019, unlike the present we have here in 2025 and these 8 blocks, ladies and gentlemen. This is cause for celebration. And goodness gracious, a show, ladies and gentlemen, that could have led with Allison Spillman's comments. The school board member, the at-large school board member, Allison Spillman, who compared an organization at Western Albemarle High School, a student organization at Western Albemarle High School, to the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
Allison Spillman, the at-large school board member in Albemarle County, the candidate who beat Dr. Meg Bryce in the most anticipated, watched, and followed school board race, maybe in American history, because of who Meg Bryce's father was.
Yeah.
72 hours ago, not even 72, on social media, linked and compared Western Albemarle High School and one of its student organizations to the Ku Klux Klan. And hasn't even had the decency to apologize for the link. The statement that she issued was the weakest "I'm sorry" and apology I've ever seen. I don't even think the words "I'm sorry" were in that, or "I'm wrong" were in that. It was a justification or a double down of her KKK comparison. You disagree?
I don't disagree. I think that at the very least you would call her initial statement careless, and that's being incredibly kind. And yeah, you're right. She didn't apologize. She attempted to clarify, and I don't think it goes far enough. I think you're right. It was a poor example of an apology, and her initial statement was egregious.
Any other day, Allison Spillman comparing a student organization at Western Albemarle High School, and let them know the nitty-gritty of what the student organization was trying to do.
The student organization was trying to bring in a speaker, last name Cobb. She's with she's with a group, a conservative group, and her speech is going to be on two genders. One, what is it called? She was initially denied coming to the school until lawyers were brought into the matter, at which point they changed their minds. Two genders, one truth.
That was the topic matter of her presentation to a student organization at Western Albemarle High School.
Yeah. And there was question about how this could cause a disruption. I'm not sure how it was going to cause a disruption unless they were talking about outside forces trying to disrupt it. And since it's been approved, whether or not you agree with the topic of the speech, I don't see why you would deny someone coming to a school to talk to students about something that they want to hear about. This is not the KKK. This is not, I don't believe anything in her speech is calling for the eradication of any particular group. And to make that equivalence is from someone who is on the school board troubling, because this is the type of thing that you start calling people Nazis and KKK, and somebody out there, somebody with a mental problem, is going to take it upon themselves to act out.
You have a candidate in Allison Spillman who beat Meg Bryce in a school board race that was in an at-large seat where the county as a whole got to vote. And Spillman beat Meg Bryce, and the outcome was not close. She won by a landslide, Allison Spillman. And within, not even a year of winning that race, she's calling a student organization at Western Albemarle High School and linking them to the Ku Klux Klan. And after making those comments on Facebook, she has time to consider what she wrote and published, and then issues a second statement.
I don't think she considered what she wrote.
And in that second statement, she doesn't even say, my word choice was bad, my word choice was wrong. Me comparing kids in Crozet to the Ku Klux Klan when I'm an Albemarle County school board member was destructive, dangerous, out of line, liable, awful, demeaning, out of touch, unrealistic. Instead, she doubles and triples down on the statement, offering justification why she made the link. And now now members in this community are outraged, as they should be. But Allison Spillman has attracted attention to Albemarle County Public Schools from right-wing activists and center aisle neutralists from all over the effing country. Did you see the Albemarle County Public School Facebook page and the level of comments and vitriol and hate and nastiness that are on those social media channels because of Allison Spillman? You just use your eye test and you realize, goodness gracious, these people that are commenting live nowhere near Albemarle County. A lot of them do, but the large majority of them don't. Do you see what you've done, Allison? Your word choice has created a Pandora's box of right-wing activism, center aisle neutralism, nationally and locally, regionally. And it was as a result of you and what you published on social media. Normally, that's the lead of the show. It's nostalgic of Nikia Walker and her poetry, rape allegory poetry, with ties to Charlottesville. Yeah. They are second cousins of each other. What Spillman did with her KKK comparison, her actions, a second cousin of Nikia Walker's rape allegory Charlottesville poetry comparison that generated national coverage. New York Times, Nikia Walker's actions.
Yeah.
Spillman's actions, if she doesn't get ahead of this, if the school board in private chamber or in a private format, the school board should be meeting and saying, Allison, you better get ahead of this now because you've smacked Albemarle County Public Schools with a national radar fresh after the death of Charlie Kirk. That's infuriated or fueled this megastorm of, lack of a better phrase, shit. Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
It's not parsing words.
Spillman, you got a third, you know what I learned with working at the newspaper? With Jerry Ratcliffe and Lou Hatter, who's the VDOT spokesman. I think Lou might have retired recently. With McGregor McCants, Lou Hatter was my first managing editor. Jerry Ratcliffe, my direct boss, as sports editor. Lou Hatter, the managing editor. Lawrence McConnell, the publisher. This was when the paper was owned by Media General. I believe the Worrell family sold to Media General. I started working there as a 20-year-old at Media when it was Media General, when the paper still had some merit. Okay? Then Lou Hatter quit. Jenny Rector, I believe, was the interim managing editor. Then McGregor McCants was hired as the business editor of Roanoke Times. He was hired from the Roanoke Times and made the managing editor of the newspaper. McGregor McCants is now one of the top spokesmen at the University of Virginia. Lou Hatter, I think, just retired as a VDOT spokesman. Jerry Ratcliffe, the namesake of JerryRatcliffe.com. This is why I learned while writing for the newspaper. Look, mistakes are going to happen. You shouldn't make that many mistakes in print. You should be vetting all your sources, vetting all your quotes, vetting all your subjects, your names, your stats. Anything in print should be double-checked, triple-checked by you, Jerry. Then we're going to send it to a copy editor, and the copy editor is going to double-check it and triple-check it. And then the layout guy, the person that lays out the newspaper, is going to read cut lines and headlines and read the story again for a last set of eyes. And then, Jerry, since you're low man on the totem pole, when the paper comes out of the printing press on Rio Road, that's when the Daily Progress was on Rio Road. I think Sarah Sand, the company, is there now, in the Daily Progress newspaper location. That's where it used to be on Rio Road, the corner of Rio and 29. Said, Jerry, you're low man on the totem pole. You're a 20-year-old kid. You're working for $30 a story. You want a full-time job? When this newspaper comes out at 12:05 a.m., you need to get one of the first or second copies that comes off the printing press, and you need to pick up that newspaper, and you need to read it front to back before you leave. And you are the last set of eyes on this newspaper. So we had these vetting mechanisms. The reporter himself or herself read the story 3 or 4 times. Then the copy editor read the story 3 or 4 times. Then the layout guy read the story once while laying out the newspaper. And then somebody was entrusted with getting the print copy that came off the press when the newspapers were still hot to the touch. And when you grabbed the newspapers, the ink was still wet and it smudged all over your fingers. If you weren't careful, it smeared and stained your clothes. So these were the mechanisms of audit. Yeah. And still mistakes would happen. And Lou Hatter and McGregor McCants and Jerry Ratcliffe would say, look, sometimes the mistakes come through. That's why we have the corrections section of the newspaper. And you can't be responsible for many corrections, but you're human beings and it's going to happen. But what you can never, ever do, and if you do this, you risk getting fired. what you can never, ever, ever do is make a mistake on the correction. If you F up the correction, you literally can lose your job on the spot right there if you screw up the correction. And what Allison Spillman did was she screwed up the correction. You have a school board member who's entrusted with a budget of what's her budget? 40% of like $650 million?
250,000?
$260 million? Roughly $260 million, the yearly budget for Albemarle County Public Schools? What, 7 people determine the budget? She's the at-large member? You have someone that's entrusted, one of 7 people, to run a budget that is more than $250 million and asking for more every year. And this woman, this school board member, linked a school organization at Western Albemarle High School with the Ku Klux Klan. And then took a day and a half to think about what she published. And her correction, her statement, doubled down on it even more.
I think her response was because she got called out. It's not because she thought about it.
Her statement was 100% because she got called out. But even though she got called out, she had a chance to do a mea culpa. Mm-hmm. I was wrong.
Yeah.
But she didn't.
No.
That makes the response almost as bad, if not worse, than the initial statement. Because she had the benefit of hearing from the community members who are outraged with her word choice.
Yeah.
And still she did nothing. Mm-hmm. That's the lead of any show. Lead of any show, lower thirds on screen. In fact, the grocery store's for lease now.
Yeah.
What happened to the co-op with CVille? What happened to the vendors that were going to run the community grocery store? What happened to turning into a negligent afterthought property that's the gateway to a historically marginalized community? What happened to revitalization around fresh produce and grass-fed meat and fair prices and quality selection? What happened to the strategic partnership with Piedmont Housing Alliance and Sunshine, the executive director? What happened to the CVille Neighborhood Association stepping up and staffing the grocery store?
Yeah, good questions.
What happened to 18 months to 24 months of hard work and equity, sweat equity? What happened to Woodard and Anthony and Keith trying to do good by the community by saying, hey, we may build the shell for the grocery store, but you guys are responsible for actually building the guts of the store. We'll give you that big-ass shell of the store, but you're going to have to grocery it and staff it.
Yeah.
Now this building on the Woodard Properties website, and you can rent it, ladies and gentlemen, for $5 a square foot plus a $1 CAM fee. You could chop it up in 1,000 square feet. You could take the full 5,000. You can get a parking lot for your construction vehicles. That's the lead of the show any other day as well. The lead of the show any other day is the Big Ten. Private equity is looking to invest billions of dollars into Big Ten football. Private equity is looking to invest billions of dollars into college football, into the Big Ten Conference. How is the ACC going to keep up? And has this turned the NFL into, has this turned college football into a mini version of the National Football League? Billions of dollars of private equity invested into Michigan and Ohio State and their contemporaries. That's the lead any other day. But today, ladies and gentlemen, on a glorious and gorgeous Thursday in downtown Charlottesville, the 2nd of October in 2025, we have a milestone moment for the history of Charlottesville. And a milestone moment for the history of Charlottesville is stakeholder, benefactor, philanthropist, influencer, community leader, Hunter Craig, helping to broker a deal between a private citizen and a real estate owner and the city of Charlottesville to the tune of many millions of dollars for the benefit of Charlottesville long term and its future. And Craig should get props and accolades, pats on the back, flying chest bumps, and handshakes. Shouldn't have to pay for a beverage for the rest of the year. I don't even think the man drinks. Get him a prime rib at the barn. Print, radio, and television. That's your news cycle for the next 2 weeks. That's what you cover print, radio, and television for the next 2 weeks. Comments coming in faster than I can keep up with. Barbara Becker-Tilley, Allison Spillman needs to resign. Absolutely disgusting. And then she says the Albemarle County School Board with no comment is also complicit.
Yeah.
If the Albemarle County School Board does not handle the Allison Spillman Ku Klux Klan comments correctly, then this stink clings to the remaining school board members.
I mean, is there really any question about them all being in lockstep?
There it is right there, what Judah said. If the school board does not manage this strategically, this public relations disaster and fallout, then the school board members of Albemarle County are what Judah said in lockstep with Allison Spillman and her comparison of Western Albemarle High School student organization to the Ku Klux Klan.
And essentially allowing her to speak for all of them.
There it is. This Allison Spillman Ku Klux Klan commentary and speaking for the school board is Nakiah Walker all over again with Charlottesville City Council when Nakiah would shoot off at the hip left and right about governance in the city. That's exactly what it is.
Except this is potentially putting our
children at risk and in dangerous positions.
Yeah. I would say it's worse than, Nakiah
This is
Walker
literally what Allison Spillman has done. She's put children in dangerous positions. Allison Spillman. Martha Freeman watching the program. Many on the left believe in free speech unless it disagrees with their views. Such hateful language. Allison Spillman wants exclusively one opinion being expressed at all times. Deep Throat, number one in the family, offering commentary. He says, Allison Spillman's comments exposes the school system to liability. The next time the school violates viewpoint neutrality, the plaintiffs will have these comments from Spillman as Exhibit A. He also says, is anybody sane surprised that Allison Spillman would say such a thing? To call her crazy is not a metaphor. He finally adds, Deep Throat, but will it hurt Spillman with her voter base? Around here, I doubt it.
Yeah.
This base is voting for crazy like this, Deep Throat's words.
Not only are they voting for it, they are vandalizing the opponents and what we have here, calling out names.
John Blair, let's hope, number two in the family, John Blair. Let's hope and pray that the shelter can provide holistic services to the unhoused and help improve their quality of life. Amen, brother.
No doubt. Not just improve it, but help them, as you've mentioned, get a hand up.
Yeah, this is hand up. If this is executed correctly with the wraparound services tied to alcohol and drug addiction counseling,
yeah,
resume building, laundry, computer lab, if this is executed correctly, this could be a campus for hand up.
Yeah,
transitioning.
Not just providing shelter forever, but helping people get out of the rut that they're in and stop being houseless.
Bingo.
Find a job, find a place to live, find contentment, or whatever you call contentment in Charlottesville, or the outskirts. But yeah, this shouldn't be a long term. This shouldn't be about providing beds for people forever.
On any other day, all these stories would be the lead. The Spillman fiasco, the school board's liability, the school system's liability, the school board basically empowering Spillman if they don't do anything. On any other day, a grocery store being canned, being sacked, being brown bagged on Cherry Avenue, and the space being for lease again by the property owners. On any other day, the Big Ten investing, potentially taking private equity investment to the tune of billions of dollars. On any other day, that's the lead. But on today, Thursday, October 2nd, 2025, we have reason to lead with a positive story. And that positive story is a brokered deal with a shelter off the bypass next to the Rivanna Trail near Whole Foods, off the downtown mall, financed by taxpayer dollars, upfit by taxpayer dollars, for a campus and epicenter that's going to offer wraparound services while at the same time revitalizing the most important 8 blocks of the downtown mall in a 300,000 person region. I want NBC 29, CBS 19, the Daily Progress, the CVille Weekly, Charlottesville Radio Group, Charlottesville Media Group, Monticello Media, and Charlottesville Tomorrow, who are all watching the show right now, to get your reporters and to cover this story, and to cover it with momentum and effort, because it's the type of content coverage that we will look back on historically as a turning point with the Charlottesville record books and historical record. Mark that down. It's Judah Wickower and Jerry Miller on the I Love CVille show on a Thursday. Thank you for joining us.